My name is Handid.
My name is Roman Rivera.
My name is Angela Clark and Stacy Tomo.
We are representing the Chicago Ridge Library. We are interviewing Chris Robbins on Monday, April 17, 2017 at the Chicago Ridge Public Library. This interview is being conducted as part of the Project Next Generation grant for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress and the Illinois Veteran History Project. Funding for the Project Next Generation grant was awarded by the Illinois State Library, a department of the Office of Secretary of State, using funds provided by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Service under the provisions of the Library Services and Technology Act, LSTA.
Can you please provide your full name?
My name is Chris Robbins.
What is your date of birth?
8784.
Where were you born?
I was born in Joliet, Illinois.
Who were your parents?
My parents are Ruth and Larry Robbins.
What were their occupations?
With their occupations, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and then my dad is a software engineer for AT&T and a couple other places too. They switched so many times.
What schools and colleges did you go to?
I graduated from Plainfield High School in 2003. I just recently graduated from Moraine Valley in 2016.
Did you work before joining the service? If so, what job did you have?
I just had regular high school jobs, Blockbuster, McDonald's, all those really easy jobs that you can get when you're in high school.
What year did you enter the service?
I entered in 2003. It was actually June 16, 2003 is when I went to boot camp.
How old were you when you started serving?
I was just turned 18. I turned 18 when I was in boot camp. So.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Enlisted.
How many years were you initially signed up to serve?
I was supposed to serve 4 years active duty and then 4 years as reserve.
How long did you actually serve?
2.5 years. I was injured and I had to actually leave the military due to my injuries.
What branch of service did you serve with?
I was with the United States Marines.
Why did you choose that specific branch? Did you have a reason for joining that particular branch?
The reason why I joined the Marine Corps is, it's a silly one, but the uniform. It was the dress uniform. It's this blue, awesome uniform, and you see everybody else's, and you're kind of like, those are kind of lame. And so then you see the Marine Corps one, it's nice and blue, and it has the nice shiny brass and the white hat, and you're just like, yeah, that's that's what you want to see, and so that was what really drew me in.
What was the highest rank that you held?
E3, which is Lance Corporal.
How did it feel when you started your service experience? Was it scary?
It was kind of shocking because it was right out of high school. I mean, I graduated high school and then 10 days later I was in boot camp. So I had to mature pretty quickly.
How did you adapt to military life?
How did I adapt? Slowly. It just takes some time. You get to get used to having somebody tell you what to do all the time and not be able to set your own schedule. You're on a schedule of whoever is ahead of you or in charge of you, so you adapt pretty quickly.
Where did you attend basic training? Where were you stationed?
I attended basic training in San Diego, California. It's actually called MCRD San Diego. And then I was stationed in Camp Pendleton, California. That's about 30 minutes north of San Diego.
How long did you have to train per day?
Per day? For a boot camp, It was 10 hours, so we get up at like 6 a.m. and we trained all day, and then we had to have lunch and dinner, and then we got done around 6, and then we got to do some other stuff, clean up, and then get to go to sleep. And then we're actually in the military. Training can last days. We can be there in the field for 5, 6, 7 days at a time. So,
What was basic training like?
basic training was a shock. It was very physically demanding, but a lot more mentally demanding. They play a lot of games with you to kind of break you down, so that the main stage, the main purpose is to break you down and get you away from being civilian, and then build you into what they needed you to be. And so at times it was quite difficult, but at the very end everything was well worth it.
What were the living conditions like?
In basic training, it was you would have a large, kind of like a large camp where you just had a whole bunch of bunks and racks that you stayed on. And then when you're actually in the military, you have like your own room. You share a room just like you would it's just like a regular room. You have 2 beds, you and your roommate, and then you had you get TV and stuff like that, so wherever you're at, you'd be a little more comfortable.
Could you call or talk to your family during basic training?
We got one phone call, and that was to say that we arrived there and that we were safe. But we didn't get to talk too much. Mostly it was more letters than anything like that.
What was the food like?
It was okay. It wasn't the best. It gave you the nutrients that you needed to be able to do your workouts and live, but it wasn't the best.
Were you able to have a social life? What types of things did you do for fun?
So when we got out of boot camp, we had to have a lot more of a social life. Boot camp, you really didn't do much. You just did what you needed to do for the military. But after you got out, on your weekends or on your days off, you get off at 4 o'clock, you just like anything else. You can go watch TV, go play basketball, do anything you wanted to do. Your weekends are completely free. So it's just like working a regular 9-to-5 job. When you get off, you get to do whatever you want to do afterwards. But when you're on the job, you're just you're doing what your job is entailed, and then when you need to go out, you have to go out and have fun, like any 19-year-old, 20-year-old would do.
Where were you stationed after basic training?
I was in Camp Pendleton, California. That's where I did my infantry training battalion, which is where you do your follow-on school, and then I was stationed in Camp Pendleton also.
Where were your living conditions different? Were your living conditions different than basic training?
Yes, like I said, it was like one big squad area in basic training, so you have 40 or 50 people living with you, and then when you actually got into your unit, you had just you and your roommate, and it was like a big old apartment building, so you had like 60 guys living in an apartment, but you had 2 to a room.
Was the food different at your new base?
Yes, much different. They had regular things like Subway, Arby's. You can go out and go in town and grab something to eat. And they also had the food, same kind of food that you did at basic training, but just a little bit more better.
Do you have any basic training stories you would like to share?
Basic training stories. I remember the most thing that sticks out is the gas chamber. So what you do is it's this big old closed room, kind of like this, but it only has one door, okay? And it has a big old vent right in the middle. And you get your whole team in there. It's about 40 or 50 guys, and you have a gas mask on, all right? And they put this chemical in the room, and it irritates your skin, and when you breathe it in, you don't like to breathe it in. It's not fun to breathe in. So what they make you do is they make you take off your mask, and you have to breathe this in, and then you got to put it on and then, clear out your mask. And everybody's crying, and it's like you have to take off your mullet mask all the way, and there's like snot hanging from the mask and you because you're like all grossed out, and everybody's coughing and freaking out. So it was one of the things that stuck out the most in basic training. And then just the end, the graduation was the best part because we get to go home. So.
When you finished basic training, what position did you hold?
My job after basic training was infantryman. So I was a front guy in the front line. I had a rifle and go through all that stuff like that. So I had training for that for 3 months, and then I got into my unit.
What kind of things did you do having that position?
So we got to do a lot of things. We get to use machine guns, the big old, you see ones on the Humvees, yeah. You see the guys that's shooting the walls, and the walls go away. And then we had to do something really cool called, our company was a helicopter company. So there's 3 different companies: a helicopter company, a boat company, and a Amtrak company. So our units, all we did was fly in helicopters. So we got in the helicopter, we flew to wherever we needed to, and we would either land and wherever we needed to, or we would do something called fast roping, which is a big old thick rope. They hang it from the helicopter, and it falls to the ground, and the helicopter's still about 60 feet in the air, and you grab the rope and you slide down like a fireman on the fireman pole, and then get down, and the whole team gets out there, the rope drops, and the helicopter flies away. So we did that. We did something called close quarters shooting. So we come in, learn how to clear rooms. So you ever see like SWAT guys come in? Same thing. So we come in, 5 or 6 guys come in and learn how to clear rooms. We did language training since we were going to Iraq. We learned how to speak Arabic, and the customs courtesies for Arabic culture, stuff like that. So.
Did you receive any specialized training for that position? Do you feel that you received enough training?
Well, we had the CQB training, the Arabic training. Wish would have had more Arabic training because we didn't really learn too much. But I mean, all the other training that we had was good. It was good. We felt pretty prepared for what we were about to do. So yeah, it was pretty good.
What rules were in the military?
There's a lot of rules. What you can and can't wear. What happens if you don't show up for work on time. There's so many rules. It would take an hour just to explain all the rules of how many, and that would just be very basic.
Did you serve in any wars?
I was in Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom 2, which is just another extension of Iraq campaign.
Where were you stationed during wartime?
So the area that we were in was called Al-Ramadi, Iraq. If Baghdad was right dead in the center, Ramadi was off to the left. And we were in this base that we took over, that the army took over, and we took over their position in sometime in 2004.
Were you in the front lines or back lines?
Front lines.
Did you have a lot of equipment to carry?
Yes, we had our helmets, our ballistic vests that had plates that stop bullets, and then we had all of our magazines, our backpack that had water in it, extra ammo, and our rifles.
What type of things did you have to carry with you?
What's that? Sorry.
What type of things did you have to carry with you?
We had to carry extra ammo, a lot of water. Iraq gets really hot. At 6 in the morning, it's already 103 degrees. By mid-afternoon, it's 120. And that's in the shade. So you have to carry a lot of water. You go through a lot of water. Ammo. If we're doing like a long day patrol, we'll bring extra ammo or extra food with us. So.
How heavy was all your equipment that you had to carry?
After everything is said and done, you're looking at about additional 60 to 70 pounds. Yeah, we had our ballistic helmet, and then we got certain sunglasses that actually, if something like a piece of rock or a piece of metal came up, it would actually save your eyes. So it would just kind of crack but not go through it. And then you had a body armor, which would actually stop from shrapnel injuries or bullets or stuff like that. So.
What job did you have during wartime?
So my main job was called point man. So I was the lead. I would lead the column through the area that we go through. So I would set the direction, the pace, and point out any kind of say anything that looked suspicious or stuff like that.
What were your living conditions like during wartime? Did you sleep in tents, on the ground, or in sleeping bags?
So we took over this old building. So what we had is our unit actually got us bunk beds. So at first we started out with cots, and then with our sleeping bags, and then we actually got some bunk beds that we shared. And so we actually have a little bit more privacy. You put you can put up a little shade area there, but it wasn't like anything like at home. So, but it was at least somewhat comfortable when we got to sleep.
How was the food during wartime? Did you eat local foods?
We actually were told not to eat local foods just because the different bacteria and stuff like that they have over there, and your body can't adapt to it as well. So the main thing we ate was we had two things called MREs, meals ready to eat. So it's in a little plastic bag, and to be honest, they're not the best tasting things. They're enough for nutrition, but they're not really good. We did get hot meals. We get one hot meal a day. So they actually brought in food until that vehicle got destroyed, and so we had to wait a little bit. So, but yeah, that's what we lived off of, and then whatever our family sent us. So, every once in a while, your mom will send you like beef jerky or like your Twizzlers or whatever you got. That's what you ate. So.
Can you explain what your surroundings were like? Can you describe the scenery?
So we were kind of right in the middle between a urban area and the farm field. So our area operations was like the farm area. So area operations is where what your unit's in charge of. So we had these two main roads that we could travel all the time. That's what we patrolled. And so it was kind of a flat area, had a lot of buildings in certain areas, and then it kind of plateaued out between the rivers. And on one side of the road, it was nothing but desert. So you can go over one hill, and there's nothing but desert. So.
What was the weather like where you were stationed?
It was hot. Like I said, it was like about, in the daytime, it get up to like 120, 130, and then when the sun went down, it dropped down to 60 degrees. So you'll be nice and sweaty, and then as soon as the sun drops, if you didn't change your clothes, you'd be freezing because you're so sweat drenched, and then all of a sudden it just gets really cold, and you don't think the desert gets cold, but it gets pretty cold.
How did you feel while you were serving?
It was pride, a lot of pride, because a lot of people didn't do what we were doing, especially being Marines. Our thing's called the few and the proud, because we are the smallest branch. During deployment, it was scary. Not gonna lie, it was pretty scary, but you count on each other and everything else, so you have the ability to get through it because everybody's there with you.
Were you given any shots or vaccines to protect you from disease, animals, or bug bites?
Yes, we had. Before we deployed, we had everything. We got the flu shot. We got a TB test, a TB shot. We had an anthrax shot. There's like 2 weeks before we deployed. They would just go out and just stick needles right in your arm. You just literally there'd be two doctors on each side of you, and they're like 4 or 5 deep, and you just walk in, stand there, put 2 shots in your arm, you move forward, 2 more shots, and that's how it would go for a good couple of weeks.
How did you stay in contact with family and friends back home during wartime?
We did a lot of letters, and then every Sunday we had to use a satellite phone. So it's a big old cell phone that has an antenna, and you get to make one phone call. It's about, you get 10 minutes. It's really funny because you talk, you say hello, and it's such a delayed. It's like 30 seconds, and they finally hear it, and they talk to you, and it's like you're like waiting forever. Like, did you get that? And they finally get through. So it's 10 minutes, actually more like 5 because of how long it took to actually get a conversation through. So.
Were you able to travel around when you had downtime? Did you get to see any sights?
So pretty much only time I really got to travel was when I was in San Diego. When we were deployed, we really didn't get to do too much. It was just where we were at in Iraq. I did get to see, we did make a stop off in Germany for 2 days, and then we had climatization training, which is we just sat in the desert for 30 days and worked out and stuff like that, so you get used to it. And that was in Kuwait. So other than that, that's about how much travel I got.
Was there anything that stood out about the culture or county side?
The culture. Can we pass on that one?
If you were in a tropical country where there are lots of bugs, did you have bug repellent or nets to protect you?
So we had something called DEET, which is like a really, really strong chemical for insect repellent. So before we left, we got all of our camouflage and our equipment, and we just pretty much bathed the stuff in there, like just squirted it on and flipped it over, and did all that stuff like that. So, and then we had regular bug spray we brought with us.
What did you do for recreation while you were off duty?
We would just go out and work out, go swimming. Being younger, we would we'd go out in town. Los Angeles wasn't too far away from us, so being dorky kids that never got to go to California, we did Disneyland, Six Flags, all that stuff like that. We'd go to the range just to go shooting, just do normal 19-year-old things.
How did you deal with the different language and culture?
We had like I said, a training class for Arabic, so we learned some basic Arabic words, and you got to remember that certain things you can and can't do. So like you can't use your left hand, or the thumbs up actually does not mean, it's not a good thing in Iraq. It's actually very negative. So there's certain things you got to remember that you can't do. Like me showing my shoe like this, showing the bottom of the foot is an insult. So I always had to be down like this. So it's just little things like that you got to remember.
Did you have a translator?
We did. I don't remember his name.
Were you giving any training or phrases to help you communicate with the local people?
Yes, we were.
Did any of the local citizens work on base or where you were stationed?
We had contractors come in and do basic building material, stuff like that for us, but there were certain areas they weren't allowed to go into, and after a while we had some really big fights and stuff like that, and so we suspended all of those operations because we didn't know who we actually could trust.
Do you have any stories you would like to share?
Not really, because some of them, a lot of mine are about Iraq, and it's just some things that I don't really, I had to build trust with people before I can actually start saying stuff like that, and and especially with kids, I don't want to I don't want to expose you to that. I don't want to expose you to stuff like that just because it's so many things that happens.
How did you adapt to the currency?
The current what?
Currency. Money.
Oh, currency, sorry. We didn't have to do anything with their currency. We we just got our own paycheck. So like we got so many, our paycheck gets either sent to our bank account, and then every couple of weeks we can choose how much we want to take out of our check. So if like we want $50 to come to us so we can go and buy something.
How did you return home?
So I was actually injured in 2004. I was only in Iraq for about 2 months. So I was actually flown on a medical airplane. So I don't remember anything of it because I was on some really good pain medications. So the only thing I remember is I left Germany and I was I arrived in Washington. So.
Who greeted you when you returned home?
When I actually got home, I got to go home for 30 days after all my surgeries. And so I got into the airport at, I think it was Midway Airport. My whole family was there, so.
How did you readjust to civilian life after serving?
It took a long time. How it played out, I was just, one day I was in and then they're like, oh yeah, you're out. So like, they have some transition classes, but like they're 4 or 5 days long and it just wasn't enough. So it took a while. I mean, luckily I got a job right away, but it's still kind of, going from the mindset of what you have to coming out, it's so hard to go back and, like they have like a little switch they turn on you when you're in boot camp, and then they expect you to turn it off, and it's hard. And so like, especially being in combat, we had something called PTSD, and a lot of people didn't know about it. And being veterans, we're all tough guys. Like we didn't want to like, oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with us. So, and you don't know something's wrong, and so it really overtakes you. So it took a while. It took a long time to actually adapt to civilian life.
Did you return to the job you left when you were discharged?
No, I did security right afterwards. So that's what I did for a long time.
Did any of your siblings serve in the military?
Not yet. My sister actually is graduating from Marquette University. She's gonna be an officer. She's gonna be a nurse. So she graduates May 20th, and then she does her boards for nursing, and then she'll find out when she gets to go to where she's stationed at. So.
Can you recall your instructors?
I do remember 2 of my instructors from boot camp. Staff Sergeant Lightfoot was his name, and Sergeant Harper. Hansen, not Harper.
What did your uniforms look like, and were they comfortable?
So we have our utility uniforms. They're green, yellow, and black. And then our desert ones are kind of like a different shades of yellow or tan. So those were they're really thick and heavy. So they are not the ones that they have nowadays. They're a little bit lighter weight, so they absorb sweat a little bit better. Our actual like dress uniforms, like I said, the dress blues are the best uniform. I mean, they're nice, and they're not as comfortable because they're made to fit tight, but yeah, they're really nice. I like them.
Were there different uniforms for different events?
Yeah, so like you only wear certain uniforms for certain days. So like you're like the Marine Corps ball, you wear your dress blues, and then so like if you go into a different station for like a new unit, you wear a different uniform for that. And then it all depends on, they have something called the uniform of the day, which means if you're on duty that day, you have to wear that certain uniform. So.
What gear were you provided in different weather conditions? Were you given coats or long underwear if it was cold?
Yeah, we were given like something we called Polypro, which is like a really almost like it's before Under Armour, so it's the same thing as Under Armour is now. It was like it goes under your shirts and underneath your camouflage, so you can wear it. And then you have like a fleece jacket, and then you have like a rainproof jacket too, and yeah, like a beanie, stuff like that. So.
If your boots wore out, were you able to get new ones?
So every year you get something called a uniform allowance. So if your boots are all broken in or torn apart, the military actually give you extra money every year to get those. But say if it's after that period and your boots fall apart, you got to pay for that out of pocket.
Did you carry a canteen of water? What did you do if you ran out of water?
So we had like 2 canteens of water, and then we had something called a camelback, which is a backpack of water. And then if you ran out of water, there's something called a water camel, which is pretty much a big old truck that has a whole bunch of water in it. And then a lot of our Humvees had bottled waters in there too.
How did you get paid? Did you get paid each week?
So we get paid the 1st and 15th of every month. So you get paid every 2 weeks.
Were you able to spend the money off base, or did you spend it home?
I got to save a lot of it, but like I said, being 18, 19, 20 years old, having our first real job, we went out and spent a lot of it, so.
Was the money you got paid enough to live on?
No. It was very little pay, and then, being in a nice area, you really you spent a lot of money really quickly.
Did you encounter any animals, wild or domestic?
We've a lot of wild dogs in Iraq, so that was the big problem out there, was wild dogs.
Did you have a pet? Can you describe how it looked?
A pet? I just had my cats when I was in station. When I had my house, I had cats, but that's about it. Nothing that was military issued.
Where were you when the war ended?
I was already back home. I think we officially ended operations in Iraq in like 2010, 2012. I can't remember exactly, but I was out and long gone before it was over.
What were your experiences at the end of the war or end of your military service?
So my last year of military service, I did a lot of therapy because I was injured. So I had a lot of problems with my hand and my leg. So I did a lot of that, and then when I was about ready to go back to my unit, my leg acted up some more. So a lot of it was just trying to get my leg and my body back in shape, and then getting discharged out of the military. So.
Did you have any personal reflections that you would like to add?
The military can be scary and kind of, there's problems that you can occur from it, but I feel like the military has made me the person I have been today. Like there's no, like the honor and the discipline and everything that I was taught and instilled with made me the person I am today. Like when I commit to something, I'm 200% committed, and if I don't do it, if I fail, then I learn from my mistakes, and that's the main thing, is that you gotta learn from what you do, and what makes you stronger, and there's always something that's gonna hurt, and the best thing, if you overcome it, you're gonna feel so much better from what happens than just trying to avoid it and and just act like it didn't happen.
Did you receive any medals?
Yes, I received the Purple Heart for my injuries, combat action because we were in direct contact with the enemy. Our unit was awarded a couple medals, because we worked with other military units, and the Iraqi campaign because I was in Iraq, and a couple other ones.
Did you marry before or after you served?
I was married before while I was in the military, and then was a divorce afterwards.
Did you have any children, grandchildren? Did any of them join the service? If yes, what branch?
No, my son is not. He's too young to join the service yet. I know he wants to. He's saying he wants to do something I told them to do something that's more infantry, more than infantry. So something that you can have a job with afterwards, because that's the big thing, is be able to find something that you can get training on and then translate right after you get out versus trying to find something.
Did you have any friends when you were serving, and did you keep in contact with any veterans who served while you did?
Oh yeah, it's kind of hard not to make friends when you're in the military, because everybody that you have is, you get so close to friends that you actually make pretty close friendships right away. And then even still now, think for like Facebook and stuff like that, we can still keep in contact.
What did you learn from your time in the service?
Discipline, it's the biggest thing, and with discipline you can do a lot of things. It can drive you to do a lot of things that are hard, and it keeps you focused. It just, you can go and do, it made college easier for me. A lot of people are like, oh, college is hard. Not really. You just gotta, you commit to something, you do your work, you do what you need to do, and put your study hours in, and it's easy. I'd rather do college all day than do one thing in the military all over again. So.
Do you have any photos or objects still as memories?
I had a lot of photos. My computer got destroyed, so but I do have some photos left. I have all my medals and stuff like that. So.
Are you a member of any veterans organizations? If so, which ones?
I really don't get into the veteran organizations too often. I mean, it's just don't really have too much time for them. When I'm not working, I'm at home, and so I don't have a lot of time for that.
How do you think the military now compares to when you served?
They have a lot more stuff than we did, and I'm sure that's what every veteran says, from Vietnam to everything else. It's the progression of technology. I mean, we were just talking earlier about, like the UAVs, they have all that stuff like that, and like even the small ones that are deployed with troops, and like the armor, like we had to weld our armor onto our Humvees, and now they have these big old tanks. They're 10 feet tall and can resist being blown up 3 or 4 times and stuff like that. And and the technology that they have now is, I wish we would have had that. So.
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will view this interview?
Just if you have the opportunity, and if you're debating about joining the military, it's always such a good thing to do. It makes you so much better off.
Can you please hold up your name?
Yeah.
Is there anything you feel like we haven't discussed or should be adding to this interview?
No, actually, it's pretty good.
We'd like to thank you for serving, and thank you for coming today and sharing your story with us, and the many people that will see it in the future.
Thank you.